You know?
What are you guys drinking? Anything?
I'm drinking Saison by Ardent Craft Brewers.
Oh, nice.
It's an ale, farmhouse style ale. I don't know what that means. Does that mean anything to you, David? Farmhouse
Yeah,
style.
so that's why I like those natural wines, because they're similar to farmhouse style. So it'd be like a little more on the funky side. Yeah, I have this Black Plague.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God.
It's super delicious though.
You
It's
need
really
Alex
good.
Pop for that.
They're from San Diego.
That's such a cool name.
Yeah, they have that little
Yeah.
I don't know, I forgot what you call those guys, but isn't
I
that
mean,
like
they were physicians. They were the
physicians, right? They used to wear that.
It's also similar as well. Similar brand.
Plague, Corona.
I mean, that was the initial face mask.
Yeah, that's right. But why was it like that? Do you know why?
I think just to give, I don't know the historical reasons, but maybe it makes sense to have distance. I don't know, like
social distancing mask, maybe. Yeah, who knows?
But I saw a video. Somebody had posted a video of somebody who found one of these masks, and they went grocery shopping wearing one. Everybody was giving them stares, you know.
That's great. Probably does come in handy.
I'm assuming we're live.
Are we live with this? Not yet? Okay.
I mean, we are, but we're not. We're not live on my YouTube channel, so I consider I'm not live yet.
I'm gonna check.
That's why I'm sitting here like this and not saying anything until I'm live on my fucking YouTube channel.
Well, we're live on my. I see it on Facebook. I still haven't even connected it to my YouTube. I don't even have anybody on YouTube.
Yeah, we're live on my Facebook. Hi, everyone.
No.
He's like, nope, not yet.
Hi, everyone on my Facebook.
Yeah, same on mine, and well, whoever's live. Is it connected to yours too, Matt? Do you have it on?
Check.
Who the fuck cares? Welcome everyone to another episode of DJs and
Beers.
Yeah.
It's episode number 13. We have we don't have Mo with us right now. No, we don't have Mo with us. We have a show with no guests this week. So you can, if you haven't yet, type in some comments and we might answer them. And otherwise, guys, hi. I don't know about you guys, but cheers.
Cheers.
Chris, have you been drinking prior to hopping on this?
No, I haven't.
No, okay.
No?
Maybe a little. I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm still in awe about last week's show with Danny.
Yeah.
I'm like, I went through the show yesterday a little to cut out some videos, and if you missed that show last week, you should definitely go and check it on our channels. It's still there, obviously. We're working on part 2 with him because we have to. It's a career of at least 45, almost 50 years.
Yeah, he started when he was 14, 15, then
Yeah, 45 years. We maybe covered the first 20 years, really.
Yeah.
I mean, Studio 54, Paradise Garage, Michael Jackson. So much.
Yeah. Did any of you guys ask him to send you that remix that he did just to hear it?
You mean the Thriller remix?
Yeah. The one that never came out?
I'm going to ask him for a folder of stuff, like a lot of the stuff he was referencing.
It'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Have this rare, well, I guess you couldn't technically play it, but it would be cool to hear.
I used to go to Danny's house and like beg him to give me like DATs of all these crazy remix outtakes that he had. So I could cut acetates of them. I have so many acetates, man. That I used to have back in the day, yeah. Dub plate.
You still have them all? Yeah. You've kept them all, Ali?
I have them all, yeah.
Wow.
You know, the quality obviously would deteriorate, but especially like in the intros. Huh?
Yeah. It's the smell. The smell of the acetates.
Yeah. Great. I mean, just the
smell of sound. I think I have one here.
Yeah.
Do any of them still work? Do they still play?
Yeah. Yeah, they do. I actually have this. I didn't
that.
want to, just waiting to go up on my wall.
It's like super
It's
like.
Oops, sorry.
It's an acetate of Frankie Knuckles album from '94 on Virgin that
What?
Frank gave me and signed it.
Wow.
Pretty
Amazing.
Wow. I think you just beat me with this one here.
I think strange.
You hear that? You hear that? An acetate? You know what that is? That is.
the Exchange. Yeah, I have a lot of. Yeah.
Dave Clark.
That is one of 3 acetates that were made for the Red 3 by Dave Clark.
Wow.
Put it on Discogs.
Yeah, my favorite person.
And I randomly found it in my records.
Yeah.
It's probably this quality is shit now. So.
No, actually, I played it. It still sounds something. I know I played the hell out of it when I got it back in the days because I got it from Rozzo. You remember Rozzo?
Mm-hmm.
He was a Bush artist as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was from Switzerland, and I don't know how I ended up hanging out with him, and he was just like, I never played this track. They gave it to me from Bush. It's one of 3. Here, take it. I'm like, whoop.
Wow.
That was fun.
History.
What? History.
Man, those times were insane. Like, you didn't have we talked about this in previous shows, but you didn't have that song if you didn't have the vinyl.
Yeah.
So it was all about getting the vinyl. Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah, I was doing another stream this weekend.
What label is that on?
That was on +8.
Oh, wow.
I was doing another stream this weekend, and I actually, since I have 2 turntables here now, I actually started to play some records. Also played that one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boost is incredible.
Later.
Oh, what a magical number. Track. What's the runtime of this one? I think 12, 13 minutes, something like this. Insane track.
You were playing records during your stream?
Yeah. I should have cleaned up the records here. They're just below me on my feet. They're all in the wrong covers now. Remember that one? This is so good.
Oh, that's a good one.
Chris, how was it technically going from your setup and how you play to vinyl and back and forth?
I wanted to ask, because you were one of the first, Chris, weren't you? You started with Serato, so you were, didn't you?
What?
You started with Serato, right?
No, Tractor. No, Final Scratch.
Final Scratch. Okay, so what year was this?
2002 something.
And what was the impetus? Why did you do it? Because a lot of people were, I guess, was wary of this kind of tech, no, at the time.
Oh yeah, everyone was. It wasn't really welcomed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
No, I felt like this is the way forward. I felt like this is the way forward to discover new grounds, how to play music in a different way, and having more possibilities, having just way more music on you that you can play. That was kind of like my idea about it, you know.
Do you remember what your first gig was with, this whole new way of playing? And were you nervous? Were you excited, or both?
I mean, I had a residency around that time at the U6311 here in Frankfurt. So I think I started using it. I don't really remember, but I think I started using it while playing at home in your hometown. You had your DJ case with you, so you were safe. If the system fucked up for whatever reason, then you just go back to your records. And in the beginning, I was basically traveling with my records and that thing. And then I slowly integrated it into my setup. But you were asking like how it worked this weekend. Actually, the record mixing into the track that was running digitally, that's easy. That was like, yeah, it worked. And I haven't mixed with 2 turntables in, I don't know how long. I honestly, maybe 10 years. Like I didn't have 2 turntables. I got the second turntable of a friend of mine. And I meant to practice a little, but I didn't really. But it's just like cycling; you don't lose it somehow. And so the mixing going into vinyl was pretty okay, but going back was a disaster. I usually am pretty good, you know, to keep to nudge my system to someone else who's playing digitally. You know, if I'm playing with Jochem's CDJ collab set, we're not synced with each other. We're just both at the same tempo. When you're both at the same tempo, you just nudge a little back and forth. And it's funny to see how even if you're at the same tempo, you're drifting away from each other, because I think computers are not the same. Yeah. And, but if you mixed a vinyl in, and then you mix another vinyl in, and another vinyl, and another vinyl, you've basically at a totally different tempo. So first you have to find your tempo that you're at, sort of roughly. And then when you have it, you have to fine tune the tempo, and you have to find it. Basically you have to pitch the record. When you get to a point where you sort of understand how the tempo is, then you have to basically pitch the record that is running. And I completely failed at that on Saturday. It was like, gladly I had a reverb. You can see it on my YouTube channel.
Reverb saves everything.
I didn't edit it out. What?
A delay or reverb.
A reverb?
A delay or reverb will save you from any train wreck.
Yeah, just to cover your shit up.
Man, I remember playing with Nastia a few years ago at Adult Villa. They were doing back-to-backs. Everybody was playing back-to-back. And I think we were both busy. We didn't have a chance to talk about like technically how we wanted to do it, but I just assumed she would do it with CD or USB, whatever. Yeah. And then when I got there, we were chatting, and I'm like, you know, I see the turntables, and I'm like, oh, you're playing vinyl? She's like, yeah, I'm only playing vinyl. I'm like, because it's not such an easy environment to play, and it was really windy because you're really high up on that cliff, and man, I was sweating trying to like get everything locked up. It was really, and her needle was skipping constantly. So I would get it, I would lock it up, and then all of a sudden it would skip, and I would have to, and sometimes towards the end of the track. So it was, I had to rely a lot on effects.
So it was more fade in, fade out mixes then?
No, I mean, you know what? Like we notice, I mean, there's huge mistakes that you can make, big train wrecks or whatever that everyone will notice. But I think we notice you know, most of the ones that other people wouldn't even be fazed by, you know.
Hey, Chris, how come you never tried using CDJs or moved to CDJs?
I don't know. I really don't know, because I think I was so into this Final Scratch thing, and then I got involved pretty early with Native Instruments. Yeah. And I was really working closely together with Friedemann, who's still there, doing that stuff. And I was really heavily involved in the development of Traktor in a way of how it should look like, and what's the next steps. Like first we only had two decks, and then we added another 2, so we had 4 decks, and it just took all my focus and energy on that, and I completely missed that CDJ era somehow. And up till today, I have to really look how that thing works actually, and I would love to get one at some point. Pioneer, if you hear me, hello. I'd love to have a CDJ at some point. I've never got one. I would love to test it, because I think it's a great addition to just have in your setup if things go wrong, you know, or if you just happen to quickly play at some, you know, I'm crashing one of your guys' parties and just come up with this USB stick and say like, I want to play.
Yeah. I think Neil's been hoping for a long time, hasn't he? I think Neil's been hoping for a long time.
Really? No, rather Daniel. You mean Daniel?
Daniel, okay.
Yeah. No. That's all right. It's just 3 big cables that you're connecting. You just have to carry that.
Well, I think CDJs are basically the way that they are now, is especially when the 3000s come out, which I guess has been delayed. But I mean, they've taken so much from Traktor anyway that it's exactly the same.
Have you seen the 3000s?
You have a machine, you know, rather than having your computer on the stage, you have a designated machine for each player. You know, that's exactly the same.
Have you seen them, Matt? The new ones?
I've not seen them, but I've heard about them. I think they were supposed to be released around now or even earlier. But I think because of everything that's happened, they've been delayed. So,
What are the new ones about?
Any of the features? Is it all NDA stuff?
yeah, I think they're just going to be. I think they're going to be similar to the X1000, if that gives you a clue as to what's being taken out.
Interesting.
Yeah. So literally, it will be without the first two letters of the player.
So it won't even be called the CDJ anymore, maybe?
Well, I think they're going to continue, but yeah, let's see.
Chris,
I guess clubs aren't buying gear, are they? They're not.
I'm looking at comments. Someone says. I just lost it. Damn it.
Chris, what have you done when you've had when your computers failed before a gig? Like, you never had to play on CDJs before to get through a gig?
Somebody just said on the comments, sorry, Ali looks like a Wild West hero or something. Where did this go? where did this go?
I'd like to, Chris, answer Ali's question. I think it's a really good one. Like, come on.
Yeah,
what
sorry.
happens? Come on, what happens?
What was the question?
If everything fails, what do you do?
Or what have you done in the past whenever you had, because we've all had computer fails. I mean, you and I have. The other guys play with
luckily, I have to say I had them rarely, because I think, it matters how well you treat your equipment. That really matters when you're on tour. But I've always had an exit strategy. Don't you remember when everybody made fun of me because I was playing with 2 computers and 2 sound cards?
I used to be one of those people making fun of you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that. I remember this. 2 computers, 2 sound cards. So if one was failing, which actually rarely happened, I could just continue to play on the other one. And when I was still with only Final Scratch in the early days, I always had records with me. So I would just put on a record and play with that. Then I had a long time these 2 computers. And then actually when we started working with the Model 1 mixer, and I got this Antelope Audio sound card, I started not to connect the second computer anymore because I had everything running on the computer, but I would have it in a bag right next to me. So if something would fail, I would just get it out and play it. But it's so interesting, since I have that Antelope Audio sound card, I've never had a technical issue. Never.
Wow.
Like literally, really never. It just never failed on me. I maybe had one time a glitch, one time like a glitch, and it totally shocked me, because everything was always running super smoothly. And I still don't know today what it was, because I was always like, really know what's going on. Every time I had an issue with my stuff, with my old sound cards, I really tried hard to figure out what the cause was to avoid it for the next time. I was always really, also with the way you set up, I was always really careful. I have these rubber things.
I remember you gave me 4 of those, and I ended up losing them and could never find them again, but they were amazing.
They're called focal pods. And they're made for speaker stands, and they're just absorbing vibration. But the great thing about them is, like, I put like the sound card on there and the computer on there, and the computer has a lot of air below, because you have 4 of these and then you have a lot of air. And that's kind of what you're trying to avoid. The biggest issues I always had was too much vibration in the booth.
Yeah.
That's like, if things are just jumping around, the cable gets loose and stuff like this. That is like always the biggest horror for me, if you have too much vibration. Then actually the CDJs work best. With vibration, they don't care, right?
No.
Not really. I think apparently you could still, if it's like crazy vibration, it might still affect something, but I don't think I've ever had that happen to me.
Ali, what have you been doing when your system has failed?
I mean, I used to also have a backup laptop, because I always travel with a MacBook Air. That's like my business laptop. And then I listen to all my music on that laptop, and whatever I want to, play, I transfer over to my DJ laptop. So it keeps my DJ laptop kind of free and clear of clutter.
Right.
But I usually, I'm trying to remember if I ever had to just play on a CDJ, maybe once or twice. But usually with, if I'm having issues, the first thing I do is I quit Ableton. And that tends to resolve whatever it is so that I can get through a gig. But I've had to do gigs before. And, you know, the audience obviously doesn't know what's going on, like in a DJ booth. Sometimes there's a ton of shit going on technically when we're playing. And we're sweating trying to get through it. And I've had times where my tractor, I did one gig in Argentina, I remember, where my tractor was frozen. The audio kept going, but the screen was frozen, and then it would unfreeze for like maybe 15 seconds. And that was my cue to load the next track before it froze again, because then I couldn't do anything. And it was 2 hours of that. And everyone's, you know, behind you, and you're drinking and they're drinking and everyone's having a good time. As long as the music, you know, the audio doesn't cut out, everyone's having a good time. But I was sweating, man. I was like, fuck.
I think we've become experts in pretending everything is totally fine, everything is good.
Yeah.
And you're just in yourself, you're just sweating the hell out of it and just like, oh, please.
Yeah, but sometimes I've had to restart like in the middle of a set, you know. It's that bad sometimes. And you and I were talking, Chris, because I was having a lot of issues in the studio this week with my DJ laptop all of a sudden, with the CPU going crazy. And nothing, you know, that we've been doing troubleshooting wise has been able to solve that. So, and you had a funny theory on that you told me, which I didn't realize, on Apple MacBooks. And there was a certain generation that was, you know, solid and foolproof and trouble-free to 2017 or earlier.
Even earlier. Like I think the last really good Mac, I mean, there was never been, according, I'm not an expert in Apple products, but there's this channel, Louis Rossmann, for those who want to know, like on YouTube. He's a guy in New York who repairs Apple laptops, and he films himself when he repairs them. You can watch like 2-3 hour videos where he just goes over like electronics with a microscope and just explains everything. And I've watched a lot of those videos. I don't know, when I'm stoned, I guess. And you learn a lot actually about those laptops, because he just explains to you, oh, this is the next generation. Now they basically put the cable that comes from the keyboard to the monitor. They put it underneath this thing, which they haven't done before. And now they do it. And that really causes the computer to crash if you open and close it too much. You learn a lot about these laptops. And according to him, the last really good Apple laptop was like from 2011 or something, the MacBook Pro. And the MacBook Airs up till 2017 were good. After those, I mean, the laptops haven't gotten better, and they're really more made for consumers now. And they're not really that reliable in the circumstances that we're using them as well. You have to really treat them nicely. And we additionally have that problem that you only have that one connection now. And I want to connect my USBs without a dongle, without an adapter. I want to connect the Fireface sound card directly in my Fireface, but Thunderbolt, sorry, and not use a dongle or something like this, because every dongle and everything can cause issues again, because there's our main signal are running through these cables, and it just drives me nuts. So I got really like when 2017 was at the end, I got 2 more MacBook Airs that I'm still using today.
I mean, Steve Jobs died in 2011, and I think we all feel like the quality control hasn't been what Apple has traditionally been known for under Steve Jobs' leadership.
That might as well be a really big reason, because I think Apple was always aimed for, let's say, the creative professionals, you know? Like video and film, and then they got so big, and they're just like, let's save money on the production of the units. I have no idea what's going on.
I think there's a lot of music producers who are now returning to PCs. Francois Kevorkian's been very vocal about it, about his migration from Apple Mac to PC and the benefits of it. So I mean, I think it's happening with a lot of people. I mean, yeah. I'm not happy with
I don't understand PCs at all. Like, what operating system are they?
Windows.
10.
But you can run OS X. You can run anything on a PC. So
Not anymore. Once those new chips come out,
really,
Apple is not going to do Intel chips anymore.
well, they're making their own, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to use their own. I forgot what they're called, but the ones that they use in the phones.
Right.
All those chips. So all that boot. What is it called? Boot camp or something.
Yeah.
Won't work on all the new software. Crazy.
Time to switch to PC. I think my next laptop is definitely a PC laptop.
And I just switched from PC to Mac.
Oh, really? What was your experience like on a PC, David?
Honestly, no issues at all. But my last studio PC was getting really old, and one of my friends was selling his old Mac Pro, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna make the switch, mostly because of Thunderbolt. But I think PCs now have Thunderbolt. I'm not sure.
So you have one of the towers, David? Yeah.
Wow.
The little trash can one. The thing's a beat, man. It's fast as shit. It runs so fast, and yeah, I'm not complaining about it. But after that announcement from Apple, I was like, of course, I just get this new Mac. Well, new to me.
I mean, I use the Mini in the studio, and it's amazing. It's so good.
Yeah,
really good. I mean, it was cheaper than my phone.
Yeah.
What?
It's fucking crazy.
I mean, I've always had my DJ laptop also doubled as my studio laptop. I used to have the big desktops, but I figured because I spend most of my time on the road, I might as well have like all the sessions that I'm working on.
You probably remember, Ali. I remember Sasha at a gig with I think he had
Maven.
iMac.
Oh yeah, yeah. Big display. Yeah. I did a few gigs with him when he had that.
Yeah, I think the Expander tour or something like that. But I mean,
he had the Maven. He had that custom-made DJ mixer.
Yeah.
And the iMac. But Sasha he's always been ahead of the curve on technology. He was one of the first to use Ableton.
Right. Okay.
Not only in the studio, but to DJ with.
Yeah.
A long time ago. Yeah. Shout out to Sasha.
Shout out. Guys, we're looking at your comments. I actually do. I'm not sure what these guys are doing, but I'm looking at your comments.
I'm trying, and then I'm trying to pay attention.
But in the meantime, Matt, I'm curious, what's going on in Berlin?
I don't know. I mean, I've been getting pretty pissed off this week, I have to say, with friends, colleagues, just a general sort of, exactly. We need to wear masks, and you got to think, I mean, I think as Chris would know, or anyone who's living in Germany, it's the first wave. It's not even like a second wave. It's the first wave that's now really hitting us. And a friend wrote to me, and I said this earlier, that the kids are going to kill us. And I think in Berlin, people really need to understand, especially if, to take into account your parents, also the economy, everything. Because this is the way that you are socially is going to affect the rest of us for many years to come. And it's really, really, it's saddening to see how people are really disrespectful to social distancing. And I think we're moving backwards, which is sad. I think maybe it's because maybe young people have had enough. Maybe they're bored. I get it. But it's much bigger than that, as we've all seen. And I think we need to also look, I guess a lot of the news recently has been about America or blah, 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 but we need to look locally about what's happening, and especially in Berlin, where I think people, I mean, you go on a subway, no one's wearing masks. Well, maybe 50%, but there's a lot of parties going on, and
What are your thoughts on enforcing a mandatory mask kind of law?
Apparently they're trying in Berlin, and they will give out fines, and they're moving towards it. But is it BGV? Is that right, Chris? The train guys, or the people that police the train lines, they can't give out fines, so it's down to the police. And of course, I think in Berlin the police are very busy anyway. So yeah, it's difficult. I mean, it's beautiful here. The weather's, you know, it's hot. Everyone's outside, but there's a lot of parties going on. There's a lot of illegal parties, and yeah. So I think that's ultimately going to have a negative effect on anything happening, you know, or clubs opening.
There was a there was a party that happened here a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if we ever got to talk about that on the show.
Well, the one that there was an article written.
It was in the LA Times.
Yeah, LA Times. Yeah.
Yeah, so that got a lot of people pissed off in the local scene here because I mean the promoter was, you know, following social distancing guidelines and pretty much doing everything you can, but in the end it's inside of a small, you're all still packed into a room,
Right.
and some people might have a mask and some not. And then you got the underground promoters in LA that are like, well, that was stupid, but also you had the LA Times write an article about it. So now you're bringing the attention to the underground scene, and maybe they're going to keep an eye on everything now. And so now promoters are kind of pissed off at it, you know, because, you know, in LA, it's like most of the parties here, they're illegal.
Yeah.
You know, they're warehouse parties. So you have to keep that kind of under wraps as much as possible. So
I think it begins with everyone feeling like they have a collective responsibility, because we can't restart, you know, not just the economy, but like our industry, you know, unless the numbers are down, unless, you know, this virus, short of a, short of like the vaccine, recedes into the background. I don't know.
I mean, I think here in Berlin, it's almost as if it never happened. I think this is the thing, and I guess maybe there's parts of the States still, or parts anywhere in the world where I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I think this is again the news has been so focused on the States with everything that's been happening recently. I'd really love to know what's going on in like Brazil, because I see the figures are going up, and I mean, what's going to happen there with like you know, they're sociable country. You know, I guess that's affecting nightlife. We don't hear about it. And I also heard that Fatboy Slim is going to start touring Japan soon, or that it has started already. So I guess things are opening. I don't, you know, I've heard very little news, even on RA or through a lot of, I guess, industry sources. It's still very patchy as to what's actually going on, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I spoke to Marco Farioni, and hello, Marco. He said he's super bored in Ibiza because it's completely on lockdown, and the police are enforcing curfew. You know, they're closing the bars in the port, and which maybe is a good thing, you know. But he said that there's very few people there, and it's very relaxed. And I think everyone saw the video that you shared with us, Ali, of Marco. But yeah, I think this was like an anomaly. This was like a one-off thing.
Yeah, that was a mutual friend of ours' birthday party. And I don't know how, I mean, you know, you have to assume that that's going on all the time, everywhere in the world. People are having like private gatherings. I don't know if those are the real issues. I think it's just changing people's mindset. You know, we also shared that video of that town hall meeting in Florida here, where, I mean, I couldn't believe what I was hearing, you know. Somebody who's obviously bought into, a group of people who bought into all the conspiracy theories with Bill Gates and 5G and mask wearing and are discounting it all and discounting the science, which is hilarious. You know, in Brazil, you have the similar leadership as well, to what we have here with Trump, and who refuses to, I guess, acknowledge the severity of the problem.
Now he's called it Kung Flu today or yesterday, apparently.
Trump did, yeah. And you know, they're eschewing like mask wearing. You know, they're not really like setting the right tone.
Can we not start a crowdfunding, like a hit on him?
A crowdfunding what?
Have a hit.
A hit.
I mean, it's really insane, is it?
We can't say that in America, otherwise we'll get an FBI file. Like,
you're gonna be cancelled.
Red spot going through your window, Ali, in a minute.
Yeah.
Maybe kicked off of
I mean,
YouTube.
it's insane that he managed to make wearing a mask political. I mean, I'm honestly asking, like, people out there, you can put it in the comments, like, what does it take away from you wearing a mask? It's like, do you look uncool? Maybe, what is it? But on the other hand, you know, I mean, I know it's confusing, and maybe wearing the mask wrong is also not good. I have this one Twitter follower, thanks to him, Racing DSN, I think it is, and he sent me some really good info that wearing masks sometimes can also be harmful if you do it wrong. You know, if you pick your mask up like this, or if you reuse it all the time, or you just put it in your pocket and stuff like this. Don't do that. What I'm doing with my mask. But on the World Health Organization side, there's a really good article of like what not to do with your mask. But I mean, even if there's people out there who say like, oh, it's going to harm myself, I have to breathe in my own stuff, you know, or these people who are just like believing like God is going to save me, we don't need to wear masks. I want them to basically sit in front of the doctor that does the next surgery with them, you know, saying like, you know what, you don't have to wear a mask when you do the surgery on me because God's going to save me. You know, it's crazy. But then again, you know, because you're saying half of the people are not wearing masks in or at least have traveling on the trains, you have a room of 100 people and 99 wear a mask, and that one person has COVID-19 and doesn't wear a mask, then everybody is fucked. You know, it's like either everyone really, but or it's not helping, but the more are wearing a mask, the more it's helping. And you have to wear the mask in the right way, obviously, too. And I'm just really, when I see the videos in Berlin of these party people, which we've seen on Instagram stories, you know, and everybody's sitting together. Why is no one wearing a mask? I don't get it. Explain it to me, please, Matt. Why?
Well, no,
You're in Berlin.
This is also the most annoying thing is that it's these people, they're not undereducated, then they're people that should know better, you know, but I think we just live in this completely narcissistic environment where everyone just doesn't care. I'm sorry, I mean, it makes me sad to say it, but I really feel that, you know, that I don't know, I think people don't see the bigger picture as well, and I think we've seen that, I think again, because Germany hasn't been so affected as say Italy or Spain, so I think people are like, oh, fuck it, you know. And,
but I in a little way, I understand a little bit in a way too, because it's fucking confusing, you know, the message that you're getting. Oh, the virus is not as bad as it seems, you know. Oh, the numbers are down. Yesterday, we had the highest infection rate in the world and in the US ever with this pandemic, like ever. We're not even close to the end of the first wave. We're just in the middle still of going up, you know. And then everybody tells you to use disinfectants for your hands. And Ali, you posted something which I read early on, like don't use disinfectant for your hands. And I was already like, no, what's going on? But
the interesting thing about that article is it's from 2014.
Huh.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting article, and you should read it because there's a right way to use the disinfectant, and there's a wrong way.
But didn't they say it doesn't?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I thought, didn't they just say recently that the virus doesn't live on surfaces like they thought? So you don't really have to worry about it so much. That it's more about getting it through the nose or the mouth.
I think we have to find that balance of allowing exposure to allowing our bodies to build up a natural immunity to whatever it is we're exposed to. You know, I feel like as DJs who've been touring for all the years that we've been on the road and being in sketchy environments, from, you know, airports and you know, hotels and cars to nightclubs and festivals, whatever. I feel like we've pretty much exposed our bodies to the after parties.
And think about all the countries you've been to and how many different germs from all the countries. You're just like, you know,
we're superhuman.
maybe not.
But you learn that also when you have kids, right, Matt? It's like with your first kid, you pick up the pacifier and you clean it. And then after like half a year, you just like maybe do this. And then after another half a year, you're just like,
Yeah.
whatever, you know. And
Yeah,
with the second kid, you don't even bother cleaning it anymore.
Yeah, they were making me sick more than I was making them sick, I think.
Exactly.
It's common for most parents, you know, so.
So Matt and Chris, since you guys have kids, like, have you thought about, you know, when you do start to play prior to a widely available vaccine, you're putting yourself into harm's way to a degree, or, you know, more importantly, putting your families at risk.
Yeah, I mean, I just
have you thought about how you're going to navigate, you know, through all that?
I mean, I just had dinner, well, an early dinner the other night with our agent, with Aurelia. So, hi, Aurelia.
Hi, Aurelia.
And she asked me the same question, like, you know, what's your feelings if you get, because there will be these kind of odd requests to maybe go to countries that, you know, where the things are more relaxed. And how do you feel about traveling? And I mean, my wife, she left last Friday to go to Croatia. Her brother picked her up in the car. He drove from Sweden. So she's gone with the kids. And I was going to maybe join her. But one thing, the flights keep changing and disappearing. There was an EasyJet direct flight to Split. That's now gone. That's vanished. And one thing that does bother me is being stuck somewhere. You know, will things change? Will lockdown happen? And then again, also, you know, that thing of, like you said, Ali, of traveling through an airport, you know, the risk of getting infection or stuff like that. So, yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah. What do you, like, you go do a gig, do you come back and kind of self-quarantine before you can see your family? What if there's not enough time between that gig and the
I spoke to a friend of ours, Dean, who manages Ben Sims, and because he's living in England, and he was saying, well, maybe I'll have to send him away for a month because he won't be able to come home, you know. Yeah. So, I mean, who knows? But again, you know, that risk of, you know, will the equipment be clean? I mean, we've all DJ'd in the most precarious of conditions. So, and you know, especially, you know, with things like air conditioning, you know, where they're saying maybe the bigger clubs will open soon because the air conditioning is better. But, you know, we all love like a sweat box, a sweat spot club. So I don't know. I don't know whether you're going to have to wear gloves.
I'm sure. I think that the scientific people should have like looked at us DJs, because I'm sure we've built up antibodies against everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was the last time you guys
just didn't pick us yet?
I honestly, knock on wood, I can't remember the last time like I had a cold or anything.
Yeah.
I really can't.
Oh, for me, I think the last time I had a cold was like in October last year.
Do you get your flu shot every year?
No. I haven't had a flu shot since like 2004. I don't know.
I have a feeling everyone's going to get flu shots this year.
That's the thing. That's the thing, is how many people are actually going to do it once they do have vaccination. I mean,
look, I'll just go by me. I can't remember the last time I was sick, and I get my flu shot every year.
So Ali, I wanted to ask you, you're a resident of Barcelona, right? I guess you have residency.
I just last week got my residency approved. So
I mean, will you come back at the earliest possible chance just to be here, or are you going to stay in the States? Going on, I'm lock down the countries because they're going to.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I have the paperwork to hopefully get across the border.
Okay.
And I have to appear in person to kind of get fingerprinted and pick up my residency card. So I was planning on being there all of August. Right. Now, the situation, as you know, is so dynamic. It changes on a daily basis. And we're just kind of monitoring things. And I mean, I have gigs here in the US in July.
But they're still going ahead?
I don't know. We're just right now. Yeah, they've been promoting it. Celine in Orlando on July 16th for anybody that wants to know. And, you know, obviously I'm thinking about it and I have mixed feelings about it. And I'm monitoring the situation. And I think we're, you know, not just us, but the venue, the promoters, whatever, we're all going to have to make a collective call as we get closer to to the date, but like the cases, as Chris was saying, I mean, I'm just looking at the New York Times front page today. The last 14 days, there was a 47% increase of new cases in the US, but a decrease of 29% in deaths, which is good. But the spike in cases is very, very alarming to a lot of people.
See,
California had a 69. California had a 69% increase in the last 4 days.
I read that.
Yeah.
And you know, I think we still know so little about this virus. Yeah, it might end up turning out that it's really not that bad after all, but we just don't know yet. You know, and that's why it's hard for me to make any decisions with traveling now or with going somewhere, because who knows what we know next week? You know, who knows what we know in 3 weeks? And until I have to make a decision, because I either have to board a plane or not, until then I actually try not to make a decision of how I'm going to deal with the virus now, because up till then I'm just going to protect others and protect myself, keep my physical distance, wear my fucking mask in the right way, and don't jump around with parties with a lot of people, really. You know, it's just like, but I get it. You know, I think we're all guilty of that feeling, like after now 3 months, you know what, when I'm walking around in Frankfurt now also, like sometimes I see friends and you just get closer and you even give a little hug and you're just like, you shouldn't do this, but oh well, you've survived so far, you know. It's a weird thing that we humans have, I think, you know. It's just we don't necessarily always grasp the whole seriousness of the situation, really.
There'll be no backslapping in the DJ booth anymore.
Well, there'll probably be. There won't be anybody in the DJ booth at all.
Yeah, that's
a quarantine zone.
Just an avatar of you or someone.
Yeah.
We're gonna get a new beer.
Oh my God.
What was I gonna say?
Because I was gonna say, Ali, we've got lots of friends, like my friend Sal. There's loads of friends who are stuck in the States who live in Europe. I mean, who don't even know whether Sal, a friend of mine, who's just got artist P. Leone. He's now in Brooklyn with his parents, but I mean, you know, he's sublet his apartment in Berlin and doesn't ever know if he's going to really come back, you know. So it's.
Who's this? Sorry, I missed it.
This is my friend Sal P. Leone. He records for records. He runs this label Emissions. But we were DJing together like literally a week before lockdown. We DJed together at this festival at the Cross thing in San Diego.
You did Cross, yeah.
Yeah, and but now, he's stuck in Brooklyn. He sublet his apartment in Berlin, and so I mean, I think Seth's in LA. I think
Seth's in LA, yeah.
Yeah, so there must be a lot of people like, you know, eager to get back to Europe, or you know, so.
I think Seth was getting tired of Europe, and he's happy with the States.
They're not letting Americans into Europe?
Well, they're considering these options, and obviously Trump will retaliate probably in the same way, just to retaliate. I don't know if they're going to follow through. They might, it might end up being kind of a slap on the wrist. Like America might get called out, but maybe there won't be an actual ban. You know?
Okay. So people can actually travel, but it's kind of looked down upon.
Well, they're looking at the numbers, and they're seeing the numbers in the U.S. start to spike again, and they're looking at it from a rational perspective, that they don't want their numbers to start spiking as a result of, you know, freely allowing countries in who have these alarming kind of numbers right now. So.
You in the States might even have that problem that I'm not sure how they want to enforce it, but that people from Arizona and Texas, where it's really spiking right now, going up, are not allowed to travel anymore to places where there is less infection rate.
State to state, you mean?
Huh? Within the state.
within the state. I don't know how they'll enforce that.
I'm not sure how they want to enforce it. Maybe at the airports, you know, you're just like, you want to fly to New York? No way, you're not going to fly to New York. When you're coming from Florida, they're not going to, huh?
Then people will just drive. I mean, what's the difference? Or take a train? Are they going to do the same?
Dude, I don't know how they think, but the thought is there. I mean,
yeah,
it's the whole pandemic thing is I think showing us the shortcomings of our society, you know, and how we are treating with each other and how we live together. And not only that is also even obviously not only how we deal with each other, but also how some factories and other places work, like the slaughterhouses. Now it just comes all to the top, you know. It's like these poor people are cramped in there and everybody is getting sick here in Germany. We have a huge scandal now. We have parts of Germany that are going to be put, like cities, are going to be put under quarantine because they have these huge meat processing plants there. At one place, I think 98% of the staff is infected.
What's he called though? This guy's the Baron of. He's the biggest meat producer in Europe. This guy in where?
Pennies.
Yeah. So it's horrific. I mean, it's really.
And now everybody just starts to realize how insane the conditions are in these places. Not obviously not only for the animals, also for the people who work there. You know, they work with subcontractors, so they're legally not bound with that. They're living all cramped together in one house. They need to work together like one next to the other one. Hygiene rules are just all overboard. Anyways, it's like that pandemic actually shows us pretty much like where the shortcomings are here, everywhere.
Infrastructure. It's exposed a lot of things for sure.
Yeah.
Chris, you played 8. I'm gonna steer the conversation back to music. You played 8+ hours in headphones, all alone.
Alone? No, it's alone together.
Alone together. Together we dance alone.
Someone was asking the name of these headphones is Audi's in the comments. We are reading the comments. Are we reading the comments? Yeah. I am. Guys, are you?
I'll try.
Audi's LCD XD. I think that's the name of these. Yeah. They're great. Dude, 8 hours, 40 minutes was my last Saturday set. It's all on YouTube if you want to see it.
And you drank half a bottle of tequila.
No, not half the bottle. You remember when we did the DJs and Shots show? I got that bottle of tequila.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's like those streams that I do from here are quite a production for me because I try to take care of everything. I have everything running, you know. I got some new lights, the fog machine and stuff. And I'm getting a little nervous before. So this time I kind of felt like, you know what? I still have the tequila bottle. So I took a shot before the show just to calm down a little. And then the tequila bottle was just standing here, and it was just so
like every gig we do.
Every gig we do. It brought back memories too. And I get so lost somehow in here that time just flies by, you know. I'm working on so much music that I also play in the set, which I mean, even only playing Radio Slave's remix of Card House, which is 13 minutes long. It's not really.
I don't have that.
It's not mastered yet. It's you know, it sounds so long, but it feels much shorter, to be honest. I don't run out of music. I put on some records, you know. It just
do you
and then I sit here and feel like I don't have anything else to do, so why not go on?
I'm sure people would like to know, as do I. Do you make a playlist for it? Like, do you know what you're going to play beforehand, or you just you're winging it?
That's always been my biggest issue, actually, because I always feel like I should prepare better, and I prepare much less than I should. And then I get a little nervous before, like usually I never really prepare much for club gigs because I know my stuff and I want to be spontaneous. But I guess and we should ask that question to every one of us. But for festival gigs, which is 2 hours, you know, you play a gig here and there, you kind of know the crowd, you know what's going on. So you kind of prepare like your first 5-6 tracks because you know what you're going to do. And then you leave the rest open. And here with this, it's funny because during the 2 weeks that I have off, because I only do it 2 weeks, I sometimes just run across a track which reminds me, oh, that old classic. Oh, I haven't played it in a while. And then I always make a playlist where I just throw in the most random stuff that I just remember from old times that I could play. And that gives me an idea of where I'm going to take that set somehow. So it just happens sort of organically. And then I sit here, usually then after our show Thursday nights, I sit here and look for new music because I always want to have a kind of a good bunch, maybe up to an hour or maybe even 2 hours of new music to play to mix up with the old music. So it's not all the same stuff all the time. And it's more exciting for me too. And that's why what it helps. But Ali, you do the same thing as well with the streams to keep updated with the music, to force yourself also a little bit
It's
to
going
search
through
for
that
music.
exercise. It's important.
Yeah, because there's
week.
nothing more tiring than looking for new music. And that's why I'm so incredibly thankful to have like also Matt and David here, who were so productive lately, just to like, oh, here's a bunch of new tracks. Here's a bunch of new tracks. And it's just amazing. Like Machine, Mr. Radio Slave, I don't know, you're probably the I don't know how you managed to make that huge amount of music in the past 3 months, even having your family there.
No idea. I think somehow
It's so good.
I think the thing is, since Eva left, I've done nothing. I think I just need to lie down for a week.
So
Yeah,
you were more productive when your family was around.
I think when it all started happening, I had all these ideas and these things I needed to just get out of me. But definitely in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and especially last week, I mean, it was even when the week before Eva was leaving, it was my birthday, then her birthday, and yeah, I've just felt like I need to just slow down as well, just you know, just relax a bit, because obviously this might go on for a long time as well. So yeah,
but
I think I've got enough now to last me till Christmas.
Oh, you do, yeah. But since I'm the only one who's looking at the questions here, NDSNDS is asking, is it possible that Matt Edwards tells us some of the production techniques, like in general, I would say, and of the old hardcore stuff?
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of people ask me about this because I've been doing a lot of, I mean, my next single, which I think Chris has, or I think I sent it to all you guys, The Stay Out All Night, is kind of very breakbeat inspired, and it depends. I mean, with those tracks, or to answer the guy's question, everything pretty much is sample based. So it's
1 second. 1 second.
Oh.
Nice.
Mo is with us.
What's up, Mo?
Hey, man.
Sorry, Mo. Matt is just answering his question.
No,
So,
no
yeah,
worries.
no-
Go on, continue.
But yeah, with those breakbeat inspired tracks, literally everything is sampled. So I mean, I've got a huge, of course, a lot of records from that era, and I try and go for the more obscure kind of sounds. But you know, I mean, I think a lot of us, or most of us, all those early records where it's a piece of dialogue or a stab and breaks. I mean, I'm still constantly searching for the perfect one. It never stops. I'm going to, you know, all the time, just constantly trying to find those perfect breaks, you know.
I really love
Get boring.
I love the Mark Broom stuff you sent.
Yeah, I mean, he's amazing. I mean, he's so prolific, and he somehow can kind of connect the past with the future in such a great way, and especially the EQing. I think a lot of it as well, when you're creating those tracks, it's all about EQ, and Shed is another example. I mean, it's all about the EQ. I mean, the music could be so raw and so basic in a sense, but it has, I guess it's, again, maybe it's this kind of dub aesthetic, this reggae sound system thing where it's all about just EQing the hell out of a sound, you know, and that has, you know, throughout the track. And so, yeah.
So how do you do that, Matt? EQing the hell out of the track.
Do you EQ the hell out of the sound?
Tell us. Tell us how you EQ the hell out of a sound.
It's top secret. Sorry.
You don't want to lift the veil on DJs and Beers?
For this DJs and Beers, I've actually moved into the kitchen, so because the kids aren't here. So now
I like the artwork.
I love the artwork. Yeah.
I just got a question that kind of loosely ties into this from Bill Wood. How much of an impact do you think that Frankie Bones had on bringing the rave movement back to the U.S.? Also, is there any chance that you could get him on to talk about the early days of techno and rave culture in New York? Frankie Bones is definitely on my list, short list, to be on the show because, oh man, he was so prolific in those days. And who didn't own,
Bones Breaks.
Series of the Bones Breaks records, which were incredible mashups.
He actually bootlegged a track I did in the 90s and released it in the States.
I mean, it was the Wild West. He was sampling everyone.
He didn't sample it. He just re-put it out.
I came across Frankie Bones records when he started doing the ghetto technique stuff.
Yeah.
Bones Breaks was a little bit before my time buying records, but ghetto technique stuff was like, I love that stuff. And mixtapes, obviously. He just had a billion mixtapes.
Frankie was a huge influence for us in LA because they were kind of the foundation of people bringing techno to the West Coast for the most part. Frankie and Adam were playing events so often out here in LA, and that was kind of like the heartbeat of where we were getting most of our techno fix from like DJs coming out from New York to play out here. Like the first party, well, probably not the first, but I remember one of the most memorable ones is he played at an old lucha libre, like Mexican wrestling arena. What was it called out in the San Fernando Valley, David? It was the Masterdome.
Yeah, Masterdome.
It was this venue called the Masterdome.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, it was a wrestling arena, and he played there once, and he threw that party computer controlled, in which he ended up like recording and making one of his bigger mix CDs out of, and that party was absolutely epic, man. Had a huge impact on us.
I was at a party one time where he was playing at the Masterdome. You remember those big Tonka sound system speakers?
Yeah, I remember.
He blew the whole system. He just kept cranking the bass and just getting it louder, and I remember the sound just went wow. It turned off.
I didn't meet Frankie until, I mean, obviously I'd heard of him and I followed his career, but we didn't cross paths until like maybe 5-6 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's such a sweet guy. And he's so Brooklyn. He's from Brooklyn, right? Yeah.
We should definitely get him on the show then.
You got to get him on the show.
I wanted to ask
Dave Herbert in the comments says it would be a 15-hour episode. Bones loves to talk about the old days.
Yeah.
But Chris, did he come to Germany at all in the 90s? Was he?
No. Frankie was not really a household name here. I've never met him too. I've released a lot of music of Adam X as Traversable Wormhole, and Adam is a lovely chap. He's a really great guy. We should also get him on the show, actually. He does amazing stuff, and the Traversable Wormhole stuff was really good. But I've never ran into Frankie, and I think we had our own fair share of rave music here. We didn't really need that part of New Yorkish rave scene in
because I don't ever remember him playing in like places. I don't remember him playing in London, like at Lost or any of the. No. He wasn't really. I think it was such a New York sound.
Yeah.
New York thing. I mean, I don't know.
I'd say he was definitely very, very much a staple in the U.S.
Yeah,
especially because
played in LA so much.
Yeah, same as Bad Boy Bill. You know, you guys talk about Bad Boy Bill. He was. I don't think anyone. He's not known in Europe. You know.
Yeah. But then you juxtapose that with like Joey Beltram.
Yeah.
And I think Joey was the biggest export of that era.
For sure.
From the rave scene that was happening in New York at the time, right? With, I mean, those early records, they still sound unbelievable on RNS.
The early Trezor stuff that he did, and
Backport.
And was Damon Wild also from living in New York at the time? I think. in the early 90s. But he never DJ'd, right?
Didn't Damon did Sine Wave Records, right?
Yeah, but Damon Wild wasn't a DJ, I don't think. I don't think I've ever seen him or heard of him DJing.
I think I've seen him on lineups over the years.
Really?
And he's still releasing amazing music today.
He's I don't know if you're friends with him on Facebook, but he's posting so much about, you know this other label like Experimental, which I think with Dennis Ferreira was the A&R man for, with all this kind of like ambient techno stuff from the early 90s. And yeah, there's so much came from New York, which was kind of maybe the complete opposite to Danny's world, you know, at the time.
Yeah. We should have asked Danny about that whole, maybe on part 2, we'll ask him.
We will on part 2. But guys, tell me something about the whole Minneapolis scene. What about heads?
Oh,
DJ, hold on. I just had it here. I have my records here below me, if you wonder what I'm doing.
Woody McBride.
Woody
Oh,
McBride,
ESP.
exactly. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heads in the clouds.
He's a super cool guy.
My original markers on there. You know, remember Basketball Heroes and all that stuff?
Communicate. There's a Communicate label.
Communicate. How did that fit in the whole Frankie Bones rave, Los Angeles, New York thing?
It was very similar. I mean, Frankie and
Woody.
Woody McBride, ESP. I remember they did a collaboration record on Drop Bass, which was actually, it was like I think they did a live PA together or something, and it was recorded as live from further. But they were all rather within the same camp, because I think the whole storm rave thing in New York had a huge influence on the rave scene throughout the United States, including the Midwest. And the whole Drop Bass network thing really kind of brought everybody together. So, I mean, Frankie wasn't only just playing LA, New York all the time. He was playing throughout the Midwest in general.
And also a good friend of ours had a big part in that too, is a Hyperactive, JoJo.
Yeah, absolutely. JoJo was part of the whole Chicago crew and everything.
Chicago, and he was also big in the rave scene in the late 90s.
DJ Jess and all those guys.
Yeah.
Catalyst Records.
All that hard acid stuff was huge in LA, man. It was like, I don't know, for some reason, it just, the harder music was so popular here, especially when the hardcore gabber stuff came around in the mid 90s, man. Those parties were freaking wild. Oh my God. Yeah, like Delta 9 and Tron. Tron, rest in peace. Delta 9, these parties, man.
I remember there was a party in LA one time called Planetarium, and DJ Tron was playing a gabber set, and right after him, Frankie was supposed to jump on. And back then, there was so many DJs in the lineup. I think every DJ had like a 1-hour slot each or something like that.
45 minutes.
Yeah, he had like a 45 minutes or 1 hour time slot. And Tron was like leveling the room there. I think there was like nearly almost a mosh pit on the floor. I mean, the music was fast and aggressive. And his time was up, and Frankie wanted to get on the decks, but I don't think Tron wanted to leave. I think Frankie kept on tapping him on the shoulder, and this dude just kept on brushing him off. So we saw a little bit of Frankie's Brooklyn side come out. He basically,
hey, bro.
He basically
What's up,
gave
bro?
Tron. He gave Tron his last warning to get off the decks, and the dude brushed him off again, and then he just clipped them lights out.
Have you guys ever?
He did what? He did what? What?
He just clipped them, man. Contact.
Wow.
Put him on the floor, threw his record off the turntable. Frankie put his record on and just played.
We all need to toughen up. That's great. How else to deal with these kind of DJs?
I mean, have you guys ever come? I'm sure you have. You're playing after someone. We're not going to name names, but someone who's obviously on the lineup and famous to a degree, and they're going over their time. Mm-hmm. And like you're there and you're ready, and there's certain clues that you give. You put the headphones around your neck. Or you
start moving a little bit closer.
You move a little closer. Yeah, there's all these body language type of maneuvers that we make, but they're not taking notice, or they're not taking the hint or whatever. Have you first of all experienced that, and how do you deal with it?
It never happened like a ton of times to me, but the last time I remember, I mean, I'm not gonna name festivals or names, but I literally had to find the stage manager and be like, dude, it's already been like 10 minutes. I mean, what's the deal? I mean, I don't care. Honestly, I'm like, that's fine. If he wants to keep playing, he or she wants to keep playing, fine. Then the stage manager had to go up and like tap them on the shoulder and was like, yo, you're going over your time. All right, I'll play one more. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay, fine.
What goes wrong there in their mind? Like, obviously they know the set times.
I think the party was going so well, and they get into this groove. And they're like, I don't want to break this shit. Like, fuck.
I was hoping one of us is that person and could explain to us.
But how does someone get to that level in their career and not be because I feel like we're all hyper aware of our surroundings and like what we're doing at all times and what everyone around us is doing, and we're kind of taking stock of everything that's happening, whatever, and we have this kind of internal clock that tells us when we're on and when we got to go off and wind things down.
I just remembered
someone like that just completely ignored.
I just remember I was at a festival, and the headliner of the festival, who was actually doing the stage, he was playing before me, and I was just waiting at the side, and literally he just walked off the stage, and the manager came over and took the headphones, and they just walked off, and there was no sort of like, you need to go and play now. They just left the stage. And
I mean, Dave Clark was speaking of Dave Clark, he was notorious for that. Just no dialogue. No conversation with anybody. I think he came to blows with Richie at a gig once, and he basically just like, there was no warning, nothing. Hey, you ready?
I think he snapped one of his records, didn't he, in the 90s?
Yeah, I mean, the worst kind of DJ behavior. Like
good old days.
Yeah.
But you have it sometimes the other way around, and sometimes I've had it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've had it one time in New York that. The he, she, whatever that, like they're playing before me. I was still backstage, and somebody said like, "Oh, you got to start. Like it's time, you know." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." I go there, and I still needed to kind of like start my software, and I was like, "Oh, can you play another one?" And I was, and that person looked at me like, "Nope."
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm like, "What? Why not?" It's like it's got another 30 seconds. That should be enough.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there was basically a gap for like 2-3 minutes until my software was running up and everything. And I was just standing there like, what goes on in the head of those people? Like, what is it? Is it such a set playlist that like, no, I've only planned to play up to this track. Computer says, no, I can't play another one. You know, that's exactly the question. What goes on in their heads? Like, what is the problem?
The human ego is incredibly baffling. I mean, dude, some people are so self-absorbed, and they live on this field or this level that they're untouchable, and nothing else in the world matters except for what they're doing.
I mean, I've heard this.
I guess that's the explanation.
This is pretty common in EDM circles. I don't want to throw the EDM scene under the bus because I'm friends with a lot of the guys.
Oh, come on.
Scene, but they have a very specific playlist, and when it's over, it's over. There's no extending it, you know.
John T. Pretzer says it right. It's called disrespect. I'm
saying
saying because I'm still reading your comments here.
Well, this happened to me one time, and you guys tell me what would you do in this situation? I was playing this party, and I went over my time maybe 1 or 2 minutes. It was on the last track. I was playing vinyl at that time. This was a while back, and the guy just shut my turntable off.
Wow.
Finish. He just went and just turned it off. I was like, okay. I mean, would you guys let the song finish, or would
I think you should let it run out. And
right?
I mean, I always ask, can I mix into it, or do you want to end so everyone can have a little clap?
This guy did not even look me in the eye. He just reached over and just turned the power off on the turntable until I was like, oh shit, okay.
Wow.
I remember playing after Moby at the New Music Seminar, like a really long time ago in the early 90s. And he played his last song and just wandered off and didn't come back. And then I saw that it was ending, and I, you know, took the needle off, put it aside, and then started playing. And then he stormed back into the DJ booth and just like berated me for leaving his record where I left it.
Oh my God.
He does, obviously, I don't think he knew necessarily who I was, and I just met him for the first time. Years later, we have a, you know, very good mutual friend in common. We had lunch at his restaurant in LA, whatever. I never reminded him of this. But that was my first like meeting with the guy that made Go, which was like the song that we were all like kind of hammering at that time.
Yeah. Norman Cook did exactly the same thing to me. He played after me, and he just stopped my record. And then there was like a 30-second minute, or maybe even more, 2 minutes before he then got his records out and got himself ready and then started, which I thought was pretty, I don't know. I mean, we shared the same car back to Brighton afterwards, but it's just a weird.
You didn't bring it up, huh?
It wasn't very coherent, I don't think, by the time we went back to Brighton.
It's called disrespect. But how do you guys feel about transitions anyways? How do you deal with this? Do you mix into other people, or do you start fresh? I actually always like to start fresh. If somebody asks me, like, do you want to mix in? Because I feel like two things about it. Like, first, I would like to know that the one DJ is finished, so he can get his credit for his set or his booze. And I would like to notice or inform the people, like, I'm starting now. So the mixing in, I think I haven't done that in a very long time. Have you?
I never do that. I never mix in. I always have like an ambient intro or something like that. I kind of take my cues for when you go see like a rock concert, that moment where, I mean, it's silent before, obviously, after the opening band is played, but like that excitement and that intro ritual, if they're playing a song or if the lights are doing something specific, they're coming out one by one or whatever, it's kind of resetting the vibe and setting the tone for the set. And I think that's really important to do. I mean, I know a lot of famous and not so famous DJs who will just mix in and not worry about that. But the ones that I find get the most, like the most positive kind of effects are the ones that reset the vibe and have like an intro. And that creates kind of a sense of excitement and everything that you said, Chris.
Or the DJs that have the extra dB after you've finished.
Yeah.
And the dancers come out and the fireworks go on.
This used to be such a problem at Twilo. I just remembered. So at Twilo, on the DJ mixer that they had, which I believe was Faison, or it was a Steve Dash mixer.
Yeah.
And they had a locking mechanism on the volume, and I believe also on the main EQ, that they would unlock when the headliner went on. So the opener wasn't allowed to.
I think it's quite a common thing, isn't it, in Ibiza with certain DJs to do that kind of thing. I think, possibly.
I remember, I think it was Leo and Bushwhacker playing before us, Deep Dish, at Twilo once, and there was somebody that just was really angry about that, and they thought it was us, like, who set that policy, but it was the clubs. They always had that. Like, the opener had to play with this limitation, and then the sound guy actually came over. Sometimes it was Steve Dash himself, and unscrewed this locking mechanism, and then you had like access to full power.
Wow.
The good old
I think
days.
most people in the comment section agree to the fact that we should start with intros. I just checked.
Right.
I mean, it makes sense, because a lot of what music does to control people on an emotional level is by creating a sense of drama and and tension. I mean, that's what you get with orchestras or live bands or any kind of live music in general. There's always some sort of either the drama tends to be flat out come out hard and bang it really hard, or start off easy and slow and build it up. I mean, there's so many different ways to go about it, but I think starting fresh really can capture the attention of your entire crowd and helps you carry and follow out through the rest of your set.
Yeah, Nabil Qureshi is saying, you big DJs can start fresh, us wastemans have to transition. I don't think anyone has to transition. I think everyone can start fresh, and it's in your best interest to start fresh. Nabil.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for you can mix in and out of someone before and after you, but I mean, like we were discussing last week with Danny, or, you know, he's talking about Larry Levan, volume is everything, just as like Mo said, you know, like drama by, even if you're mixing in or out of someone, you know. So there's certain clubs that I've played at where stopping and starting again just doesn't feel right, you know, the whole clapping, you know, this sort of, it just doesn't, when you're playing in maybe like a intimate small venue, you just want to keep it going. So I don't know.
There's no rule to any of this stuff. It's just like, feel it out. If it feels right to do it, just do it. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
I mean, I feel like it's sort of like a crutch. It's like the guy before you has created a certain mood, and maybe everyone's going crazy. And by you mixing in, you're kind of resting on the vibe that they created as opposed to creating your own.
Yeah.
No.
Does that mean you take credit for their vibe?
That's what I'm saying. It's very easy to take credit for their vibe, the vibe that they created. Now, you know,
I know something.
You have your challenge in a smooth transition. Sometimes the transitions aren't so smooth, but
or even
I'm gonna ask like my first gig that I play again. I'm probably gonna ask the person before me that can I mix in, and then I mix in like the worst ever track, and then I let it end. So the crowd thinks that this was his last track.
Gonna mix it on vinyl, Chris.
And then I can start really good.
That would be a really shitty thing to do.
That'd be fucked up.
I know who I do it to.
I have a good question from, just because I wrote a few of them down from my Instagram, from Iman Deeper. When is the right time to get a manager for your music career? Who is actually the key player to add to your team after the second decade of running solo? I guess that refers to me, but you know, what are your thoughts on managers?
I have something to say.
Create
another email address.
That's why I asked the question.
Create your own email and pretend to be your own manager at a different person. Just change your name and be like, I'm sorry, he's not available today, but maybe next
I know
month.
quite a few people who do that.
Yeah,
I've never had.
You guys,
I've never been busy enough to the point where I needed one.
I think managers have become the new agents, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of DJs, it's almost like going back to that. I think that conversation about having tour managers, where it's maybe just it's like, hey, look at me, I've got a manager, or blah blah blah. But I think obviously in this particular circumstance that we're going through this year, obviously managers have become like redundant to a lot of artists, because managers have actually been pushing their artists into a DJ career and maybe not into a career that's based around music production, which is maybe like, I think being a real eye-opener to a lot of managers, where, because they make, you know, you can make so much money from someone being on the road, but I think that a lot of people have realized, well, no one's on the road. So I think
do you think this pandemic has kind of exposed maybe the shortfalls of having management? Like, what are they actually, you know, obviously we're not gigging right now, and management is not able to commission on gig income anymore. So do you think artists are looking at their management going, okay, well, I'm not gigging right now. What other revenue streams have you actually created for me?
I think that's all, again, Ali, that's all down to the what kind of person you are as an artist and what you're looking to do within your career, your lifespan during the music, you know, in this period. I mean, some people love just making music. I mean, there's a lot of us, or some of us, who maybe don't want to be on Instagram or Facebook, or even maybe doing something like this. They just want to make music, but times have changed. And I think what managers have maybe been great at is basically maybe pushing artists into this sort of DJ stratosphere of making them idols, which, you know, has definitely happened within our industry, where, you know, DJs are worshipped maybe more than just on their musical, on the merit of their musical maybe worth. It's about becoming a pop star. So I think that's what managers have been good at. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, that's basically, if you that's what you want to do, then maybe you need a manager.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on what the manager does for you and how useful it is at certain times. But isn't there a law in California that, I mean, we have to define between bookers and managers, and there's a law in California that actually bookers and managers are not allowed to even share the same address, right? They have to be two different people.
I don't know about the law, but I was going to say, just for the sake of just the listeners and people who are tuning in, differentiating the difference between a booking agent and a manager, because I think a lot of people get that all mixed up or use the terminology for each vice versa. I mean, is there somebody who's specifically there to do management for, you know, image choices, and is there somebody that's just there to do bookings? I mean, do we have two separate people for that?
Well, there's the agency and the booking agent. There's the manager, and I think different managers play a different role. Some managers are like project managers. They're kind of like, you know, the buffer between the artist and everybody else on the team, and they maintain access and control of like everything that's happening. And then you have creative managers. Creative managers are like those creative brainstorm people on your team that help you execute your creative ideas or, you know, launch, initiate, come up with, you know, creative ideas. So there's creative directors, creative management, there's managers, there's booking agents, there's a lot of people. But
well, that's interesting, because I've never had that many people work for me. So I guess I've just always had,
me neither.
I think it's, as we know, it's become it's far more complex than, say, even 10 years ago. And I think the role of, I mean, I had a manager, and I still work with this guy, Dave Durrell, the old friend of ours, and he managed Bush, Pet Shop Boys. He also wrote Pump Up the Volume.
We got to bring him on the show.
We'll get Dave on the show. But I mean, you know, he's very, in a way, he's very old school in his approach. But I mean, you know, when I started doing the Radio Slave thing, it was about getting remixes from major labels. So he would be visiting the majors, the labels, finding out what new acts there are, new bands, or blah, blah, blah. Who can my artist remix, that kind of thing. But in 2020, it's completely different. I mean, you've got the whole thing of social media, blah, blah. There's so many different, you know, and then there's like brands, or being a brand ambassador, which for a lot of our colleagues, they've become, you know, they're involved with fashion labels. There's so many more things you can get involved in, you know.
That's a lot of payrolls to pay, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, fuck. I mean, I guess I come from, and I'm sure many of you do too, I come from a completely DIY background where I've just done everything myself. I've been my own creative person, my own social media manager. I think booking agent obviously is incredibly important, because I don't even know if I'm responsible enough to maintain my own calendar. So, I mean, that's incredibly useful, but I guess I've never really put it into thought how many different roles there could possibly be.
I think, like, if you're a band, it probably makes a lot of sense to have a manager, because you have a period of time where you're really active, and then you have this other period of time where you're not doing anything. And it's not like management is like, you know, just collecting DJ fee commissions all the time. You know, it's like, and you know, when you're not doing anything, you're trying to plan your next album campaign or whatever else with management, or whatever you're doing on the side. So I think it becomes quite crucial and important, especially if you have a manager that you grow with. I mean, what was Paul McGuinness, I think, was U2's manager for a really long time. And I don't think U2 would be where they are today without his contribution to that band. So for that scenario, I think it works. For people in our industry, I don't honestly see the benefit or value. And I think you will cross that bridge and know it.
I think Ali, I think we've all come from a time where it was all DIY anyway. I think we've all, you know, that whole thing of maybe having a manager when you're young. I don't think actually it's maybe the best option anyway, because I think you need to learn your mistakes yourself. And I think managing things like social media, all that stuff, you can do it yourself, you know, and, you know, paying someone to do it, it's kind of like, it's almost like it's not a good look as well. I wouldn't advise some people to stand behind your manager as well, or have someone else leading your life. I don't know whether, obviously it depends how, like you said, if you're in a band or if you get really big, then for sure you might need someone. But
I think if you have a bigger team, then you have to have someone who's kind of managing that team to keep your back free, so you can focus on the best thing that you're doing. I think that's the key role for a manager for us. But do you guys know of anyone where the managers maybe even taking care of the social media? Do you know? We don't have to name any names, but do you know of that?
Yeah, I think so.
Really? Where the manager actually answers the Instagram stories and the manager? Really?
The artist will send what they want posted, the photos they want posted, and all that stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I have that address? I think we had a really cool discussion at some point this last week. Time becomes a big blob. I don't know who brought it up, but getting out of the social media game or never taking part in it. And I think Ali, who's just left us in the moment I was looking away, his chair is empty, had that point where he was saying, I think it was a valid point. You were all discussing it. I was actually just reading it. For those out there, we have this WhatsApp group where we just, sometimes you wake up in the morning and there's like 120 messages because these guys in LA just sending each other photos or something.
We're bored,
anyway,
man. What
sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to keep up. But the question was, do we really have to, or I phrase the question now. I'm trying to talk as slow so Ali comes back. Ali, like, how important is the social media game? How important is to keep it up? How important is it for us to stay on there if you don't want to stay on there? Now, Matt is going, is my question so irrelevant? These guys were saying, I couldn't even frame my question. Oh no, Matt was just getting another beer. That is excused.
Well, you're basically just asking, is social media important to kind of stay relevant in this scene or something?
I don't know what my question was, to be honest. It was just about social media. You had this conversation going. Please just help me here.
Do you not think even the most hardcore, like sort of techno guys or people that I think avoided it for years? I think pretty much everyone we know now is using social media, and you know, a lot of people who would, I don't know. There was a lot of people who avoided interviews, avoided press. I mean, Moody Man, Kenny Dixon Jr. never did any shows, was always behind a veil, and now he's out there. He's sitting on top of the decks when he's playing and handing out drinks. You know, I think everyone's changed their view on the way that they present themselves, because they know they've got to push themselves. You know, they've got to put to the max.
More importantly, I think that they're forced to feeling like they need to put themselves out there because they're losing their momentum in comparison to the kids that are out there putting themselves out on social media. Because some people might consider it elitism or whatever, but there seems to have been, especially like in the techno scene in specific, underground, for a lack of better words, this kind of thing where people tend to rely on this idea that elusiveness and being hard to reach and kind of secretive and a little bit hidden in the shadows is considered more elite or more cool or more underground for whatever reason. And maybe that comes naturally from artists like Jeff Mills, who just doesn't really have a large social media presence. But when you start becoming the kind of artist that forcefully tries to be that because you want to be perceived, it's just a game. You know, you're just trying to project an image of being this dark, elusive, hard to reach person. And a lot of people try to play that game in order to reach some sort of elitist level of being a DJ. And then you have a whole new generation of young DJs who were born and raised in this social media world and are so much more active and out there and doing things. And they are gaining the attention of a new and younger generation. And they seem to be projecting themselves and propelling themselves forward and becoming more successful. It's starting to make everybody else who took the other direction feel a little threatened. And then they're also kind of forced to come out of their shell a little bit because they want that attention for whatever reason. I don't know. Does that make any sense?
Yeah,
I totally did. I think most important is to be authentic out there. I think I don't, you know, I actually, I have phases where I don't like to post stuff, then I just don't post stuff. But then I have phases where I just feel happy about posting shit, and I do it. I think it's really about being authentic. And if you don't feel it, you should stop it. But then the big question is, what will it do to your career if you just get off of social media? What if we all get off social media now? Would we still be here? Would anyone be still watching?
I think everyone thinks about that. And we talked about this the other day on our group chat. It's like once
you were gone while I was saying that, Ali. You were gone for like 5 minutes while I was waiting for you to come back. But go on.
I mean,
anyway, I think it's how if you set the initial tone to a point where like you weren't as active and you weren't exposing as much of your creative process and who you are and everything, and you weren't lifting the veil and maintaining that sense of mystery, I think that can work in your favor, and you can maintain that even in this current landscape. But if you've been really out there and promoting whatever it is you're doing and yourself and your daily routine and your personal life or whatever, it's hard to kind of just stop cold turkey and retreat behind the curtain. I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think
honestly, I don't know if the public wants to see us. Do they want to have this sense of mystery about us and what we do behind the scenes and how we create our art and our approach to our career and all this other stuff? Or do they want us to just give them everything, all the information that we've accumulated over the years, and they're going to love us more for that? I have no idea. I mean, I think it's the public.
It's two completely different marketing techniques, because we see those, if we take it outside of the dance music world, you could see it very clearly, like in the difference between the hip hop world and maybe, I don't know. Oh, I don't want to say rock, but just other musicians. I can't even think of a good example, but you have like more of the hip hop world and social media where it's like constant stories of just watching people drink and like party and like living
Snoop
a big
Dogg,
life.
I don't know if you're watching Snoop Dogg, but his Instagram is fucking priceless. It's like amazing.
I think people are attracted to that. They're kind of attracted to the sensationalism. They're attracted to the lifestyle, the comedic portion of it. But then you have musicians like, I don't know, Al Jorgensen from Ministry or something, who's always kind of been someone who's been sitting in the shadows. And there's something kind of almost like mystical and otherworldly about musicians that you don't know anything about them or where they come from or who they are, what their process is in the studio. And you start using your imagination and start thinking about all these crazy things in your mind, what you think makes that person is. And I think that also elevates artists to another level. Now, I don't think that it's an appropriate way to go about things by purposely trying to be that mysterious person. But I think it comes naturally to some musicians who just don't have that kind of extrovert personality to be online all the time.
I think it goes back to what Chris was saying in the need for everyone to be authentic and honest.
Absolutely.
If you're authentic and honest, then that's a true representation of who you are as an artist and as a person, and you'll translate whatever you're trying to get across to your audience very well.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to major label offices in New York, discussing an artist that was on records, and the first thing they spoke about was stats. And looking at this artist was at the time very an underground artist, and you got to think that in this day and age, that's part of the sell, and I'm sure that's the same with a lot of the bookers or like promoters that we work with around the world.
What kind of stats are you talking about exactly?
Social media stats.
Prior to that, you had the DJ 100 polls, right?
Yeah, I think I was going to say that also I think one thing you got to remember, one of the positive sides was that I always remember the Dance Star Awards. I think it was 2002, where I think P Diddy did the show with Khalees, and I was discussing. I think it was like a lifetime achievement award, and I was discussing this with one of the CEOs of because I did the music for that award ceremony, and I said, why don't you give it to Larry Heard? And he said, no one knows who he is. And I think one of the things that's really noticeable, especially in the last 10 years, is what social media has done for a lot of maybe artists who didn't get the recognition because maybe people hadn't heard of them. And the internet has definitely opened the door for a lot of people that maybe we knew their music super well, but to maybe the more mainstream audiences, they had no idea. So, and I think this is what maybe I noticed Jeff Mills is like releasing a new album every 2 weeks at the moment, but he's definitely pushing his craft, at the moment, and so, which, is amazing. So,
yeah, I don't know. For me, I think getting off social media is just a matter of mental health more than anything. I mean, I kind of adopted the internet at an early stage myself, and I've always been like a purveyor of pushing things through the internet. I always thought it was a very innovative place to work in. I don't even think that needs to be said. But lately, I don't know. I find that just sometimes being on social media in general is just more depressing than it is anything else. It just fucking bums me out, especially if you spend any time reading comments on anything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be about me by any means. Just even reading what people say about other people that I like or I support or I care about, or watching the way people in the comment sections communicate with each other, and judgment is just constantly being thrown back and forth all the time. It's just it's creatively depleting.
Do you guys maybe envy Daft Punk a little bit?
Oh fuck yeah.
They're just completely off the grid when it comes to
good for them.
I mean, do you really maybe themselves as Daft Punk, but maybe they are very active.
Yeah.
And we just don't know about it.
Persona or something.
And they're sitting at home completely depressed because they don't know what to post.
They've had major FOMO all these years about that.
They don't know what to post.
Justin sent us a question that you guys answered, because I probably wouldn't be able to answer this. But Ricardo M asked, "How did you guys promote yourself before the internet?" I answered.
You played good sets, and then somebody would be telling someone else that guy played a good set. Maybe you should hire him. That's really how it was. Seriously.
I think there was record reviews. Obviously there was you DJing, there was the music that you were releasing. And yes. I remember a time where like that record review was really important. And then PR was important. I think the traditional PR model is maybe.
Yeah, you tried to get on the cover of a magazine or something like that.
Covers
magazine.
Record
front page. We had a lot of magazines here in Germany. You tried to get a story in there. Yeah. Or, that was the only way to get somehow noticed.
Do you remember magazine? You remember Music in the UK? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I was
Was it run by Ben?
Ben,
Ben
yeah,
Turner,
I was
yeah.
a Bedlam winner, I was in 1998, as was Youssef, as was James Zabilio.
I remember that. That was a big thing. That was at the last page. Right? Yeah.
Wow.
I love that. There were so many people that I discovered through that little. That was
one of the ways. I mean, sending mixtapes to magazines, to everyone. You know, you do what you could.
Was mixtapes a really big thing in Europe back in the days? Like in the US, it was really, really big.
Yeah, in the UK, definitely. It was a huge.
Yeah, Germany too.
But was that a way to kind of put yourself out there and promote your DJ brand?
Yeah, it was also a way to make some extra money, because at the Omen Club, we had this tape deck and people could give you a tape, but they had to give you 50 marks as well. And then you would record 90 minutes of the music you're playing, and you get the 50 marks and you give them the tape.
Wow.
I remember the early days of like Napster and stuff like that. I would download mixes that were recorded live at Omen from like 97.
Probably you had one of mine, probably.
Probably. I downloaded so many, but they sounded terrible. I mean,
I had downloaded countless Chris Liebing mixes from what was it called?
I know I had some
Soulseek.
And
Soulseek.
Yeah, Soulseek too.
Soulseek.
Is it Morpheus or something like that?
Chris, did you ever play Dorian Gray or no? That was way before your time.
Yeah, I played it once.
Oh my God. So we need to have Sven on the show and have you guys talk about The Omen and Dorian Gray and that whole Frankie.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
That episode would be DJs and Ecstasy.
What?
Nobody got
guys,
that.
we're planning on an episode for those out there. We're planning on an episode, actually 2 weeks, I believe. We're planning on an episode. I'm not revealing the guest yet, but it's going to be called DJs and Weed.
Yeah, so let's see if you guys can get.
So we're going to do one DJs and Ecstasy too then, right?
We got Sven. We all drop a pill. And
we may as well do DJs and mushrooms and DJs and ketamine as well.
DJs.
I was gonna go LSD, but I mean, that's just me.
Hey, we're almost in 2 hours already, and we don't even have a guest. Before we end the show, I would love to touch on one more subject. We don't have to name names, as the people can't defend themselves. But how do you guys feel about virtual festivals in these days that have sort of zero diversity in their lineups?
Oh,
it kind of sucks, right?
Huh?
I believe that lineups should be diverse without a doubt. Although I don't know, I was kind of running this along my head the other day. I kind of wouldn't feel that great if somebody had contacted me and told me that they wanted to book me to play at a festival because they needed me to fill in some sort of culturally diverse check mark on their list. Like, I think
I'm not going to tell you that.
Yeah, I think if you're a minority, you need to be in that first round. Talent buyers need to be less tone deaf, I think, with what's going on, and they need to pay more attention to maintaining a balanced lineup. It's their responsibility, and perhaps like even, the artists that have the most leverage with those talent buyers or with those brands, festival brands, need to apply some pressure. So as an industry, we kind of steer our industry in a more, socially responsible direction, because in many ways, the talent buyers, the events, whatever, they dictate they reflect what's happening socially, and they in some ways dictate, culturally what's happening. And I think it's a responsibility that we all have to have.
Yeah, and I think now is a good time to reset, right? I mean, this is the time that all promoters out there can have a good think about what they're doing and why are they doing it. I mean, obviously money is a huge reason, but if planning ahead or planning towards 2021, then this is the time to get it right, because I think all eyes are on you, and they should be aware of that. So I don't think there's any room, there's no wriggle room to get it wrong. That's the way I see it,
Also, how is it going to look? Okay, how is it going to look if said festival has not a very diverse lineup, and then all of a sudden they change it? I mean, people are probably going to talk shit about that too.
I mean,
now they're just doing.
Nobody wants to be the person that's chosen, like Mo said, for that reason. You want to be in that. You want to be chosen because of your talent,
because of your talent and what you can contribute to your art craft.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'd be fucking pissed if someone came up to me and said, "Hey, look, we got too many white guys on our lineup, and we need a token Mexican. You want to fill in?" I'd be like, "Fuck off! Don't book me because I'm a person of color. I want you to book me because you like my music and what I do." But I mean, that's not to say that we shouldn't keep lineups diverse. I just don't want it to be some sort of like pity booking or just for the sake of what it looks like to people.
I don't think anybody wants that. I think that's why I agree very much to what Matt was saying. There has to be a different mindset. Our music, our culture, the electronic music culture is based on such a diverse group of people, and every party who does a big festival should pay tribute to that huge diverse crowd of people that created that electronic music scene. And it would look weird, if you have, I don't know, a festival suddenly where there's like 40 DJs playing and everyone is from the same ethnic background. It's like, wait a minute, but what's about the rest, And that, I think if the mindset changes and people are looking ahead by booking, and that's what we wish people do now, then we would avoid that moment where, we need to have that, we need to have someone with red hair now too. Let's call this person,
I mean,
to avoid that.
I think talent buyers and people in our industry have a civic duty now. I mean, you saw the sea change on the heels of Me Too. I mean, you have, way more balanced lineups now between men and women, male and female DJs.
I have to say, growing up in the UK, I mean, the sound system culture that I was privy to when I was younger, like going to Rage. I mean, it was a very black orientated sort of culture. That's where Jungle came from. So Fabio Groove Rider, it comes from that, that world. But I'm just saying, I think one of the things is most evident. I think mostly, especially in America, is that I think maybe because it's such a huge country that maybe it hasn't been so mixed because of EDM or whatnot, because it's the mainstream don't view it like that, right? I don't know. I think it's very difficult for the UK to understand where it is now, because it's always been like that. I don't see it's always been very mixed. So
it's become more about business rather than the community and the culture of it. It's like it's this big cash machine. So they're like, we're gonna book everyone who's going to get us the most ticket sales, like regardless of what, the cultural diversity of the lineup is. And you would think now with virtual festivals, it's probably not really costing anything. I don't think they're paying these DJs. So then why can't you be a bit more diverse? You know what I mean? What's it going to cost you? Maybe a little bit less viewers. Like, does that matter? Or they're not advertising on these parties. So I don't understand. Yeah.
I don't know. Growing up in LA, our lineups were always incredibly culturally diverse, and maybe that's just because, in general, it's such a huge melting pot. But, I mean, it's never been something for me to ever think about. I don't know.
That's why that's same.
Yeah, it never crossed our mind because it was like half the lineup is Latino in LA, and you had black guys, Asian guys, all kinds of people playing all the time. It was always culturally diverse, and it was never a conscious decision. It was just an outcome of what existed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got to begin with feeling a sense of social responsibility and awareness and consciousness of these issues, and initiating, and then action. There's got to be action on the heels of awareness and consciousness. And I think there needs to be dialogue, lots of open dialogue about what's wrong and how can we fix it, as opposed to like public shaming, like we talked about the other day, calling people out and things like that. There just needs to be more, you know, positive dialogue initiated to bring about the change that we all want to see. You know, I think we've always looked at what we do in our industry, whatever, through, you know, kind of a colorblind lens.
Like I said, I think people are going to have, we've got a long, I mean, we've got there's a long way ahead of us before we go back to work. So a lot of these
now's the time to fix it.
Exactly. Hopefully we'll be playing in 2021.
Yeah. Don't remind me.
We are the world.
I love how Chris always comes in with the deep, you know,
finishing off
topic at the very end of the show, you know, saying, oh, we only have a few minutes left, but how about this? Chris, how about like you reverse that and bring it up at the top of the show next time?
Yeah.
I didn't want to disturb you guys. Jonty Pretzer was asking another great question. I have to actually remember it because I don't see it in the chat anymore, but it was like, how do you manage to get new followers, and how as a DJ do you make more money? And I was thinking, if you find the answer to that question, please let us all know, because we're in need of all that. Like, it would be great to DJ again. It would be great to have 1 million viewers maybe, but I'm actually happy with the viewers we have. I think that's great.
Chris, getting back to, I don't think we fully explored your 8+ hour set alone in headphones. Why not just invite?
See what it does to me.
Yeah, because it's fucking with my head. Why can't you just invite like 5 friends over or something, take some ecstasy and and have a good time? I mean, why alone?
I like to be alone, to be honest. I'm walking the streets alone. I just really like to be alone.
But you're recording you're still recording every set you do, Chris? Every what? Every set you do, you recorded.
Yeah.
And you have these all backed up for how many years?
They're all on my YouTube channel.
Since when? I mean, for how many years have you been recording each?
Oh, you mean my sets that I'm recording them? Oh, I thought you mean the streams that I do. No, I go back to 2000.
Wow. So do you, when you're working out in the week, are you listening back to your set from the weekend when you're?
No, I never do.
You never apart from when you publish them on your AFM thing.
I sometimes don't even listen to them then. I actually never to listen to them. I record. I seriously, I record my sets. I never really listen to them. I just remember how they were.
Yeah.
And this is how I choose them for the radio shows.
But
I don't really, I don't have the time to listen to 1 hour of my own music. That's boring.
We have to find a way to insert like into Chris's library that he pulls from.
Because
really inappropriate for him to upload because he never listens to what he's uploading.
Daniele Bordelli, this cosmic DJ from Italy, Daniele Bordelli, who's famous for playing records at the wrong speed, and he ran a club in Italy called the Cosmic Club. I mean, I think he must be in his 60s now, but he has taped every set he's ever done. I mean, it's a bit like recording every, show, every set. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I've never done it, so.
That's called German efficiency.
Someday I want to partake in Chris's live stream, but I just want to put a bed in the background and I just want to lay down and just take a nap through the whole thing.
Go through the records.
Yeah.
Well, there won't be any sound.
I'll put my hand up like, yeah, that's the one. That's a good one.
Chris, have you thought of like inviting fans into your stream so that you can interact, like you can feel like you're connecting with them on a different level? It's funny because I don't know how many streams did I do now? Maybe 5, I guess. I don't know, 6 every 2 weeks since the lockdown. I don't know. Maybe it's 8. But it's great to see there's like this
community of maybe 500 people that always seems to be there. Like that's the core. Like these 500 people, they now
I get that
know
with my
each
regular
other.
streams every Sunday.
Yeah, they now know each other within the comment sections, and meet there again, and it's beautiful to see. I just want to say hi to everyone who's watching doing this, because I'm this is the response that I'm getting. I'm looking at the comments quite a bit, you know, while I'm playing, because I really felt it on Saturday. I really miss seeing the faces of people. You know, when you play, you see the reaction, you see how they feel about what's going on. You kind of like, you set the mood, and you see if they fall into that mood. And I miss to see the faces. And the closest thing that you get to it is sometimes just reading the comments. And they're not necessarily commenting on me, they're chatting with each other in the stream, you know. And that's really a nice thing to see. And I've been noticing it's a lot the same people.
Have you ever gotten anybody saying, "Oh, dude, you know, faster or slower, or what is this shit that you're playing? Come on, play techno. What is this?"
Of course, it's the internet. It's the internet. It's the internet. Everything is coming.
So then you're maybe inadvertently you come across a heckle, and does that throw you off?
Yeah, just like in the club. Just like the guy in the club who stands there like this first row. And you wonder, like, why is he standing there like that? If you don't enjoy it, just leave. But no. And it's just, and there's like 20 people around him who's just going off their nuts, like totally celebrating, but you're focusing on that one guy, and you're like, I'm doing something wrong.
Or you have an entire crowd of people who are having fun and partying, and then there's just one asshole who's like, play harder. Like, really?
It's like comedians with hecklers. Like you have a whole room, there's a comedian telling jokes, and then you have the one person that talks back, and then you focus on that one person because you're just like, come on, man, why are you here then? You know? It's the same.
Look at Ollie's screen froze, and it's
Ollie's screen froze like this. Yeah, you're right. We need to focus on the positive and not on the negative. It's just like with like comments in your social media posts, you know. Sometimes you immediately jump on the negative comment and want to argue with that person, but you should really look at the positive, at the good, like at the constructive criticism and stuff like that. Just like on the dance floor, focus on the 20 people who are dancing, not on that guy. But it's hard. It's super hard. What's happening with Ali? He didn't want to be with us anymore?
Maybe we already hit up our limit.
He only wanted to talk for 90 minutes. We're
already at 2 hours, so.
We're at 2 hours. So we're back next week with a new show, right?
We have a guest next week, Chris?
Do we have a guest?
Yes, we do. Do we?
I don't remember.
Didn't we discuss that for like 10 hours?
We do, actually. It's Matthias Caden. It's going to be on the show.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Ali's not going to be with us next week, I think.
I think he left already.
He's done.
Shall we wait for him to come back and to say goodbye, or shall we just?
Are you doing this weekend, Chris? Are you doing another stream?
Oh no, that would be too much. It's honestly, it's like you have to. I needed to recover like 3 days from that stream, because it's building up already on a Thursday. You know, you're just already thinking like, oh god, yeah, I got to do all that stuff. And so this is why it's good only to do it every 2 weeks. So it's a kind of an on-off weekend. I can take care of other stuff again.
Yeah, I mean, the week I took off when you had Carl, I did the Rinse FM show on Thursday. I did BBC Six Music Friday, and then I did this live stream on the Saturday. So it was just, and I just was exhausted from doing all that stuff.
I did a Rinse FM mix last week too, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
Anybody wants to jump over to my SoundCloud and look, have a listen.
And for which show, Mo?
Infinite Silence, I think.
Okay, nice. Okay, cool.
I could be completely butchering that. I hope not. But I think so.
So what's going on? What's going on in LA with the lockdown? Is it completely relaxed now? I mean, with the spike and stuff. I mean, is it going to
Lockdown is non-existent, and everybody's just out there doing whatever the fuck they want, and it's depressing wholeheartedly.
And the beaches are open, everything's open, or what's going on?
I mean, I think
Beaches
the beaches are open.
For you can't.
Sorry, guys.
Like sit there.
That's bullshit, because I went to the beach last week and I sat there.
Right.
I mean, I went to a beach where there was nobody around, and it was.
Yeah, but you were in like Santa Barbara.
But it's still the same in LA. Like,
Yeah.
I check the size of the waves at the wedge as if like I'll ever really go out and surf again, which I never will. But just to continuously check anyways. And there's people sitting out there all the time, just doing nothing. So
everything's open now. All the stores are open. Everything's pretty back to normal. Or do you have to wear a mask? I mean, is it?
We're supposed to wear a mask, and the numbers are increasingly spiking, and people are getting more sick, and the hospitals are being overflooded. But it just seems like after the riots, everybody just gave up.
Right.
And there seems to be a lot of people who just don't give a shit. I don't know. It's incredibly frustrating to me how irresponsible and how just self-serving people can be for themselves.
I was explaining before you came on the show earlier. I mean, exactly the same things happening in Berlin, and I mean, the only prospect or the only solution I see is for Berlin to go into some kind of lockdown again, which it never really had anyway. But otherwise, just it needs to be enforced. As much as that sounds weird, but I mean, people need to be told. Otherwise it's going to get fucking worse.
Well, for the longest time, there was all the people out there who were saying, well, more people die from the flu than they do of COVID-19. And I think we finally have far surpassed that.
Yeah.
So, I think more people are dying of COVID-19 than they do of the flu. So maybe that's a reality check for some people.
And then they're saying that once we get back into the fall and the winter, that the shit's going to spike even harder again, too.
Yeah.
I thought we finished the show already, but I got another beer now.
Good.
I'm way more worried about Bill Gates and 5G than COVID.
Jesus Christ, man.
That's what's keeping me up at night. Seriously.
Yeah.
Just the absolute.
God.
You know what struck me the other day that was incredibly depressing is I was just scrolling through Facebook. I passed a post from a friend of ours who was posting a picture of his uncle and was saying, I just ran across this picture of my uncle who passed away of COVID-19 last week. And then I scrolled down to the next post. This COVID-19 thing is such bullshit. I'm never going to wear my fucking mask. I don't know anybody who's sick from it. Do any of you know anybody who's sick from it?
Yeah.
And you scroll down a little bit more, and my grandmother just passed away from COVID-19. And you scroll down a little bit more, and the government's lying to you. It's all 5G. And it's like, wow, what a fucking completely contrasting post.
Yeah.
How?
I mean, I was speaking to John Dixon. He's the keyboard player for Timeline, for Underground Resistance, and I was hoping to have a proper phone call with him before came on the show. But I mean, he was saying that a few of his family members have passed away, and he said at least everyone knows someone in Detroit who's passed away. Yeah. And that's the thing. I think in Berlin, people like Ali said, they're like there's more 5G believers. I mean, there's across the street from my house. On the wall. There's this big 5G poster thing. Blah blah blah. It's fucking crazy.
Nobody gives a shit until it's happening to them.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it. It's like everybody's out there spouting their mouth off, or maybe they do believe in it. Maybe they do want to consciously wear a mask, but oh, well, I guess if I do this, I'm not really affecting anyone because who am I? Like, I don't have a big impact on everything. But that thought process is across so many different people that it does make a big impact. And I don't know. I find it just absolutely terrible.
Yeah. How's it in Washington, Ali?
Oh, it's great. No one's wearing.
No, but is it back to normal? Is it like there's no lockdown? I mean,
no.
Off the street.
The problem is nobody in America has been given like cohesive direction.
Right.
And they're kind of left to their own choices. There's not like a universal protocol that's been applied everywhere. And that's the big issue, I think. If that was in place, if it was required that everybody had to wear masks and that you could get penalized somehow if you didn't, then everybody, and it was, you know, from top down, from the government, you know, to the local states and governors and stuff initiating this, then we'd probably be in a better position. That's why we have to take individual responsibility, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to keep dragging this on, but I mean, there is something to be said about whether or not we really want the government telling us what we can and can't do out there. But at the same time, I don't need the government telling me what I can and can't do to take the proper precaution and just general kindness to other people just to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sensible, but then you have like the 5G
Tell that to my wife.
Conspiracy people who don't want the government telling them what to do, and they're not so sensible. So maybe people like that need to be told, in order for all of us to get out of this situation and return to some sort of a new normal. It's in everyone's collective interest, and we have a social responsibility to one another to adopt these measures.
Maybe this is like, maybe we should do this in this track that we're putting together. Maybe this should be the message. You know, we should maybe someone should be vocal.
This is to sign off this week's show is wear your fucking
A reverse message.
I have this
the pitch down, wear the mask.
I have this photo I found. I don't know how real it is, but apparently there's this. People are making these like kind of cards you can show. It's called face mask exempt card. I mean,
fake apparently.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't want to read it and look. It sounds stupid. Okay, if it's fake, okay, fine.
Don't read it. It's fake.
Okay, Jesus. I was like, if that's real, like I can't believe that people are actually gonna flash this thing.
You know what? If that's real, living in America and being here the last few months, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's why I believed it. It was like, you know what? Probably people actually are walking around with this thing and going, yeah, well, guess what? I have this. And
yeah, I'm exempt, dude.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd hate for us to get to a situation where the government in the States would be pulling the same kind of protocols that they are in China, where they're like literally at times kicking people's front doors down and dragging them out of their house to put them in quarantine, even if it's against their will. I mean, we don't want that kind of control, but we do need to take some sort of self-social responsibility.
Yeah. Maybe we need that though. Maybe we're like little children who need to be scolded in that way.
True, but once you give the government that kind of power, then they'll use it in other locations and other areas.
Yeah, I don't think that's the way. It wouldn't work, you know. And even if it was enforced, there's still going to be 10 people amongst 100 people who are not going to wear a mask, and it's not working. I think the only thing really we can do is being a good example and telling the people out there, if you have a platform, to tell them, just wear the mask. You know, treat your mask nicely. Wear it. It's not going to do any harm to you. It's not going to take anything away from you. Wear
That's
it.
the thing I don't understand. I'm like, you just have to put a small cloth around your face when you're in public. Like, it's not you don't have to be in your house with it. You don't have to go jogging with it. Like, if you're in a market, put on a piece of cloth. You can literally do this too, and it helps. I mean, why is that such a big deal? I don't get it.
You know what I thought was the funniest headline I read the other day, where it was like, Orange County now enters phase 4 of pretending that they care about being in lockdown for COVID-19. Because, dude, it's so night and day. Like, when you go to LA, you see a large majority of people trying to follow protocol. But as soon as you go south into Orange County, like near the beaches, nobody cares.
For those who don't know, Orange County in the California Southern California terms, Orange County is like we call it we call it the orange curtain.
The orange curtain, yeah.
Which is like, that's the more conservative part of Southern California.
Yeah.
So you have tons of people there that live there that don't believe the coronavirus is true. They believe it's bullshit. They don't think you have to have masks.
The earth is flat.
They were actually the first they never even really locked down. So they're having a huge spike right now too because of all this. And they still believe, like there was protests in Orange County about wearing masks, and they're still protesting it. So for those people who don't know, that's Orange County compared to Southern California.
I mean, I don't see anybody in my neighborhood when I walk around to the bars and restaurants. I don't see anybody wearing masks except for the people that work in the restaurants. So there you go. Yeah.
Wait a minute. So you don't have a rule. You have a rule that the people who work in the restaurant, the staff has to wear a mask, but there is no rule that the person who goes in, because this is what we have in Germany. And I don't know about Berlin. It's always been different. But here in Frankfurt, you can only enter a store if you put your mask on. There is a security guy standing there. He wouldn't let you in without a mask, period.
Yeah, there are people, there's like it's funny, there's a meme, not necessarily a meme, but an Instagram profile that I started following recently called Karens Go Wild. And a lot of the videos were like people that were trying to get into stores, but the employees would not let them into the store unless they were wearing a mask. And these people were just like going ape shit. Like, you know, I'm going to call the police that you're not letting me into the store. It's my right. It's my decision whether I can wear a mask or not. I mean, the lengths that people are going to fight this is ridiculous.
But in California, it's mandatory now, like all of California. Before it was by county. Now the governor said all of California, you have to wear a mask if you're in public, like no questions. So
see, that's the thing. It's about like, is it about you or is it about your collective responsibility to the community, to your community? And right now it's about the collective responsibility. It's not about you and your rights being infringed upon.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would ask, like Mo, if you talk about these people, where do you think that comes from? Is it a lack of education mixed with growing up in America and freedom is everything? What is it?
I think that America is a country that has always valued individualism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's always been about yourself coming up, and nobody is ever taking the moment to think about collectivism and how these things kind of affect everybody. Everyone's kind of out for themselves. I guess that's kind of a Wild West thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe
and
this
also,
is.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people really don't understand. They can't look past their own little bubble. They're all stuck in their own little world.
And is that a lack of education?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think it's ignorance. And you can be educated, but you can't be ignorant. I mean, I've talked to tons of people who I find to be rather intelligent and smart people, but they're so self-serving and so self-absorbed in their own ego that they can't look past themselves, because all they're thinking in their head is, well, I don't want to do that. How it affects my daily life, what I'm going through, how hard this makes my life. But nobody is ever saying, oh, well, yeah, it makes my life a little bit harder, but hopefully it makes everything better for everybody else.
So that's essentially the same people who play longer sets and don't let you start.
There you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fucking hell. You made the connection.
Wow. You just connected the beginning and the end of the show like perfectly, Chris. Chris, do you want to wrap up for it?
Yeah, we're going on.
I'm not saying much anymore. Cheers.
No, you got to wrap up.
I see
Are we
somebody
wrapping
writing
up?
in the comments. I see somebody writing in the comments, American arrogance, and I know that's funny because I think it's also funny. But this isn't an American problem. This is a fucking human problem. I don't care what country you live in. This is going on everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a lot of people are dumb in this country too.
Yeah, of course.
Well, let's end on this high note.
All right. Everyone, wear your masks.
Yeah.
Even do this. You can go buy a beer in the store, just go like that real quick. And you're like, fuck, I forgot my mask. I mean, really, Jesus.
And don't use this all the time. Just when you need it. That's that's disinfectant, by the way.
You know what they do in prison with that stuff, right?
Huh?
You know what they do in prison with that stuff, right?
Nope.
Yeah, you can take a bunch of cotton balls and you could just soak it in hand sanitizer and you could stick it up your ass and get drunk.
Oh wow. Okay.
Huh.
Wow.
The good thing is we have beer.
What a
thing is we have
wonderful
beer.
experience.
I remember. I mean,
By the way, Matt, are you drinking Corona beer?
I am. Yeah. If you drink enough of it.
Sorry, David.
Can't get any good. This is. I mean, I just wanted to buy Corona. You can't get any good Mexican beers in Berlin. I mean, this is,
I was just gonna say something in line of what Mo was saying. Is like, I remember on the news, like maybe 10 years ago, there was this thing that was really, it was going on in high schools around here where teenagers would get tampons and soak them in vodka and then just stick them up their bums and just get super wasted.
Wow.
You don't have to drink. You get no alcohol breath. Not that people should try that, but
Don't try it at home.
You know, that's a way to get drunk and beat the what's it called, the test where you
Breathalyzer test.
breathalyzer.
Alcoholics do it too.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
Hey man, we gotta end this on a light note, you know?
Yeah,
Comedy heals the soul.
Does anybody have anything funny to share?
Yeah, look, I got this today.
Oh yeah, Depeche Mode.
Oh wow.
It was in the mail today.
Yeah.
Let's open it together.
Have you got a CD player though, Chris?
Huh?
Got a CD player, or is that like a Blu-ray?
DVD.
I don't really know. I can't open it.
Or is it just a useless
I
bit?
have, I have this right here.
But wasn't there some Depeche Mode thing today?
Right? There was, and I actually have if you want to have a funny last story, I have a funny last story for that.
Wow.
Whoa, look at, oh, that smells good.
That's the concert, right? The last two concerts you said?
Oh, yeah, don't remind me.
The one that you didn't go to that I went to.
Oh, shut up. Okay. This was released today, and it's the very last concert at the Waldbühne in Berlin last summer, right? And they played 2 shows at the Waldbühne. And I've been to 11 concerts of their last tour, yeah? And for some reason, I didn't really sort out my ticket for the very last fucking show. And I went with my kids to this penultimate show. That was 2 days before the Waldbühne, which was fun. It was great. And then I was just like, yeah, I'll just get to the final show somehow. And then the show came closer, and I started to realize I'm not getting a ticket anymore. and I cut this short. It ended up being a beautiful day in Berlin. I was sitting with some friends at a cafe, and I was literally sitting there lovesick. The last time I felt like this when I was, 14 and super lovesick. I knew my favorite band ever in the world is playing their last concert of this tour, and you never know if it's the last concert ever, yeah? And I've fucking been to 11 concerts, and I didn't manage to go to this one, and I was sitting there, and I knew in that moment, oh, now they're playing this track, now they're playing this track, and it's literally like 5 kilometers away from you. And I felt so terrible about it. And I still do, actually, because it was the last concert they did up till now. And you never know what, So I might have missed ever the last concert. Let's not say that. But I'm so happy to have gotten this DVD, Blu-ray, whatever that is. And it's the movie on there, the movie that you mentioned, Ali, The Spirit in the Forest, about the fan that followed. It's a really interesting movie. It's really cool. I watched it too in the cinema. And it's, I think even both last concerts on here, I don't know. this is what I'm going to do now, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it was such an emotional concert. And, you know, I found out at the end when we were leaving, I found out that Gregor Trescher and Anya Schneider were also there. I didn't run into them. But then we all met up afterwards for a currywurst, and we kind of reflected on the experience together. And yeah, I went with a buddy, and we sat just behind the front of house. And you know, there's certain like videos that they project onto the screen, and a lot of the people that were featured in those videos were in the audience just in front of us, kind of celebrating the fact that they were, you know, being projected on these giant screens, and they were part of this whole experience. And everybody, I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. And I'm just really sorry that you missed it. But then I would have seen you cry, and maybe I would have
I felt heartbroken. I was heartbroken. Yeah. It was terrible. It was a terrible feeling in that moment, and it was just like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. Why didn't I just go there?
Yeah, Dave Gahan was totally crying at the end, like, because he knew. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what he knew. I don't know what their plans are, but it felt like for them it was the last show of the tour. It was like a 2-year tour. They had a little break maybe in between. But it was really the most successful tour they've ever had. And the amount of, I mean, the people and the amount of love that they were getting from the audience, like, would make anybody emotional. And he was quite emotional.
I actually had a quick chat with Dave Gahan in New York, in Berlin, and on the concert in the summer. And I was just super nervous saying hi. And I think Daniel also introduced me. And I was like, great show. And he was standing there like, yeah, it's a great show, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's a really good show. And then he looks at me, you know why it's a great show? And I'm like, oh, well, it's great. Because it's the end. And that was dark. That was like, because it's the end. And I was like, oh my God, really? What is he saying here right now? And then I was totally puzzled, had no idea what's going on. But then I just told him, it's like, you know what? I don't think it's the end, because it's an ongoing process. And then he was puzzled. And that's how we finished the conversation. So I still have no idea how he meant that. Maybe I shouldn't have publicly said that.
Oh, well, yeah. It's a good story, though.
Well, let's all go listen to Depeche Mode and wear masks when we go out in public.
Yeah, wear masks.
Thanks to everyone for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to see you
guys. I'm drunk after 2 beers.
By the way, Ali, this is Matt Nordstrom in the back who's walking back and forth, right?
Yeah, Matt, come on in and say hello.
Say hi. He's done some great records himself too.
Yeah. Come on in. So this is my longtime engineer and collaborator, Matt.
Yes. Hey, man. Hey, long time.
So, yeah, I mean, we obviously made all the music together, and we're here working again. Matt's based in LA now, but he's here on the East Coast visiting family. So we're taking advantage of the time to work on some new music. So
cool.
How you guys doing? Back to the lab.
Yeah.
Be productive.
Make some hits.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta do
that. Thanks, everyone.
All right, let's wrap it up. Thanks everyone for the show. That was it. And tune in next Thursday at 9 p.m.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Peace. You guys.